Welcome to our journey through the original 13 American colonies. These fledgling settlements, clinging to the eastern edge of a vast continent, would become the bedrock of a nation. Over the next hour, we'll delve into the stories behind these colonies, uncovering not just the familiar tales, but also the intriguing, lesser-known facts that make each one unique. From the windswept shores of Massachusetts to the fertile fields of Virginia, each colony possesses its own distinct character, shaped by the people who braved the unknown to build a new life. We'll encounter tales of hardship and resilience, of innovation and conflict. We'll witness the clash of cultures, the struggle for freedom, and the birth of a nation. So join me as we turn back the clock and explore the fascinating, often surprising story of the original 13 colonies. Our journey begins in 1607, in the heart of what is now Virginia. Here, on the banks of the James River, the first permanent English settlement, Jamestown, took root. Life in this fledgling colony was harsh, a constant struggle for survival against a backdrop of unfamiliar wilderness. The winter of 1609 brought Jamestown to the brink. Known as the Starving Time, this brutal period saw the colony ravaged by famine. Food became so scarce that colonists resorted to desperate measures, consuming horses, dogs, and even leather from their shoes. But amidst these hardships, an unexpected alliance emerged. Pocahontas, daughter of the powerful Powhatan chief, played a pivotal role in the colony's survival, bringing food and acting as an intermediary between the two cultures. Her marriage to colonist John Rolfe brought a period of relative peace, though her life would be tragically cut short in England just a few years later. Her story, a blend of myth and reality, continues to fascinate us centuries later. North of Virginia, a different kind of colony emerged in 1620. Driven by a fervent desire for religious freedom, the Pilgrims, a group of Puritan separatists, landed on the shores of what is now Massachusetts. Their journey aboard the Mayflower is etched into American history, but what followed was equally remarkable. The Pilgrims and the Puritans who followed them placed a high value on education, believing it essential for a godly society. This belief led to the establishment of the first public school system in America, a radical concept for its time. In 1647, Massachusetts passed the Old Diluter Satan Law, requiring towns with 50 or more families to hire a schoolteacher, ensuring that even in the wilderness, learning would flourish. But life in Puritan Massachusetts wasn't solely focused on piety and austerity. In 1690, the colony witnessed the birth of the first American newspaper, public occurrences both foreign and domestic. Sadly, its run was short-lived. The paper, deemed too controversial by the authorities, was shut down after just one issue. Freedom of the press, it seemed, had its limits. North from the bustling settlements of Massachusetts, we find ourselves in New Hampshire, a land sculpted by glaciers, its landscape dominated by the towering White Mountains. Settled in 1623, New Hampshire often stands in the shadow of its more renowned neighbors. Yet this rugged terrain conceals a spirit of independence. This was the first colony to cast off the shackles of British rule, establishing its own government before the echoes of the Declaration of Independence reverberated across the land. The lifeblood of this fledgling colony flowed from the forests, where towering white pines, reaching for the sky, became the backbone of a thriving timber industry. But these were no ordinary trees. They bore a special mark, the King's broad arrow, signifying their exclusive claim by the Royal Navy, destined to become the mighty ships that ruled the waves. New Hampshire's story reminds us that significance is not always measured by size or renown, but by the quiet determination of those who forge a path through unforgiving landscapes and into the annals of history. Our journey southward takes us to Maryland, a colony founded in 1634 as a sanctuary for those fleeing religious persecution in England. Here, on the shores of the Chesapeake Bay, Catholics sought refuge and the freedom to practice their faith openly. In 1649, Maryland took a bold step, enacting the Act of Toleration, a landmark piece of legislation that extended religious freedom to all Christians within its borders. This groundbreaking act, a beacon of tolerance in a world often riven by religious strife, marked Maryland as a pioneer of religious liberty. However, the reach of tolerance had its limits. Non-Christians found themselves excluded from these protections, a stark reminder of the complexities and contradictions that often color the human story. Despite these limitations, Maryland flourished. The fertile lands surrounding the Chesapeake Bay proved ideal for the cultivation of tobacco, a cash crop in high demand. Vast quantities of this prized commodity flowed from Maryland's ports, fueling the colony's economy and shaping its destiny. Continuing our exploration, we arrive in Connecticut, a colony founded in 1636 on land originally inhabited by the Pequot tribe. Known as the Constitution State, Connecticut's legacy is intertwined with the very foundation of American governance. It was here, in 1639, that the fundamental orders were adopted, the first written constitution in America, a document that laid the groundwork for self-governance and democratic principles that would shape a nation. But Connecticut's past, like that of many colonies, is not without its shadows. Long before the infamous Salem witch trials cast a pall over Massachusetts, Connecticut faced its own dark chapter. Between 1647 and 1663, a wave of fear and suspicion swept through the colony, culminating in the execution of more accused witches than any other colony during that time. A stark reminder of the dangers of unchecked fear and the fragility of justice. In the heart of New England, nestled amongst the sprawling forests and rugged coastlines, lies Rhode Island. Founded in 1636 by the controversial Roger Williams, this small colony quickly became a beacon for those seeking refuge from the strict religious norms of its neighbors. Williams, a staunch advocate for religious freedom, clashed with the Puritan authorities in Massachusetts and was ultimately banished for his radical beliefs. Undeterred, he sought to establish a colony where individuals could worship according to their own conscience, without fear of persecution. This commitment to liberty extended beyond matters of faith. In a truly remarkable act of defiance, Rhode Island became the first colony to renounce its allegiance to King George III in 1776, a full 2 months before the signing of the Declaration of Independence. This bold move cemented Rhode Island's reputation as a hotbed of revolutionary fervor. Adding to its long list of pioneering actions, Rhode Island was also the first colony to prohibit the importation of slaves, taking a firm stance against the barbaric practice in 1774. Our journey now takes us south to Delaware, a small but significant colony nestled between the mighty Delaware River and the Atlantic Ocean. Carved from Pennsylvania, Delaware emerged as a distinct entity in 1704. Delaware boasted a remarkably diverse population from its inception. Dutch, Swedish, Finnish, and English settlers all contributed to the colony's unique character. Delaware was the first state to ratify the United States Constitution in 1787. This act earned Delaware the moniker of the First State. Delaware established the first free public school system funded by local taxes. Our exploration of the original 13 colonies now leads us to the sun-drenched shores of North Carolina, a land steeped in history and shrouded in intrigue. Officially established in 1663, North Carolina carries the enigmatic legacy of the lost colony of Roanoke, a settlement that vanished without a trace. While the fate of the Roanoke colonists remains an unsolved mystery, their presence casts a long shadow over North Carolina's early history. This land of mystery soon forged its own identity, shaped by its rugged coastline and the allure of the open sea. North Carolina's inlets and waterways became a haven for pirates, including the notorious Blackbeard. Blackbeard terrorized shipping lanes before meeting his demise off the Carolina coast in 1718. Beyond its association with outlaws, North Carolina cultivated a unique and thriving economy. The colony's dense pine forests were a treasure trove of naval stores, essential for maintaining wooden ships. Tar, pitch, and turpentine transformed North Carolina into a vital supplier for the maritime industry. South Carolina, established in 1663, rapidly developed a distinct identity, one intrinsically intertwined with the cultivation of rice and indigo. These crops, immensely profitable, flourished in the Carolina Lowcountry, shaping the very landscape and society of the colony. What is often less appreciated is the pivotal role played by enslaved Africans in this agricultural success story. Their expertise in rice cultivation, brought with them from the distant shores of West Africa, proved indispensable. This knowledge, passed down through generations, transformed South Carolina into a leading producer of these valuable commodities. However, the prosperity brought by rice and indigo came at a heavy human cost. The reliance on enslaved labor cast a long shadow over the colony, shaping its social structure and fueling the fires of revolution that would later engulf the 13 colonies. And it was in Charleston, South Carolina's bustling port city, where the seeds of rebellion against British rule were sown, eventually blossoming into open conflict. The island of Manhattan, a bustling hub even in the 17th century, was originally claimed by the Dutch as New Netherland. Established in 1624, the colony bore the distinct mark of its founders, with Dutch architecture, language, and customs prevailing. However, the year 1664 marked a turning point. English forces seized control, renaming the colony New York. What followed was not a complete erasure of Dutch influence, as one might expect. Instead, the English administration pragmatically allowed many Dutch customs and legal practices to continue. This blending of cultures, this fusion of Dutch and English traditions, created a unique social fabric in New York, setting it apart from its English counterparts. The colony attracted settlers not just from England and the Netherlands, but from across Europe, transforming New York into a melting pot of languages, religions, and traditions. New Jersey, like its neighbor New York, was initially under Dutch control. However, the year 1664 saw the English seize control of this strategically important territory. Unlike New York, which remained a unified entity, New Jersey was divided into two distinct colonies, East Jersey and West Jersey. This division, far from being a mere geographical quirk, had profound implications. Each colony boasted its own government, attracting settlers with different religious and cultural backgrounds. This wasn't simply a matter of chance or convenience. It was a deliberate act that shaped the very character of these fledgling colonies. East Jersey, for instance, became a haven for Scottish Presbyterians, their strong religious beliefs shaping the social and political landscape. West Jersey, in contrast, attracted a significant Quaker population, drawn by the promise of religious freedom and William Penn's vision of a holy experiment. And so we arrive at Pennsylvania, a land shaped by the vision of William Penn, a Quaker seeking a haven for his people and others yearning for religious freedom. Founded in 1681, Pennsylvania was to be a holy experiment, a beacon of tolerance in a world often riven by religious strife. Penn, ahead of his time, drafted the colony's constitution, enshrining trial by jury and freedom of the press, radical concepts in those days. These principles found fertile ground in Pennsylvania's soil. Pennsylvania's uniqueness extended beyond governance. It became a sanctuary for German immigrants, enriching the colony with their traditions and resilience. Penn's policy of respect and fairness with native peoples, purchasing land rather than seizing it, was a testament to his commitment to justice. Our journey through the 13 colonies culminates in Georgia, the youngest of these fledgling settlements, founded in 1733. Established as a haven for debtors seeking to escape the brutal realities of English prisons, Georgia represented a fresh start, a second chance at life. Yet, its early history reveals a paradox. While conceived as a land of opportunity, Georgia initially prohibited slavery, a practice deeply entrenched in many of its neighboring colonies. This ban, however, proved short-lived, lifted in 1751 under pressure from those seeking to exploit the land for profit. Georgia's location, south of the Carolinas, was no accident. It served as a vital buffer, a strategic outpost guarding the more established colonies from potential threats posed by Spanish Florida to the south and French Louisiana to the west. This precarious position thrust Georgia onto the front lines of the simmering conflicts between European powers vying for dominance in the New World. And so, Georgia, the last of the 13 colonies, played a pivotal role, not only in the economic development of the region, but also in the struggle for control of this vast continent. And there you have it, the 13 colonies, 13 threads woven together to form the rich tapestry of a nation. From the wind-swept shores of Massachusetts to the fertile fields of Pennsylvania, from the bustling wharves of New York to the sun-drenched plantations of Georgia, each colony contributed its own unique character to America's beginnings. These were vibrant communities, forged by the sweat and toil of ordinary men and women, driven by dreams of freedom and a better life. Their stories remind us of the human cost of nation building, of the sacrifices made and the challenges overcome. Thank you for joining us on this journey. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more explorations into history.